Don't watch this video if you have not finished the conclusion of Stormblood. Just spoiler warning, we're going to give my raw impressions and thoughts and everything that's just kind of working through my brain right now, and I am both ultimately unsatisfied, but that's not a bad thing. And so I just kind of want to talk about it, and I'd love to know your thoughts below. So also, if you have not finished the story, avoid the comment section as well. So usually we try to say, leave us a comment. In this case, don't, unless you're fully prepared for spoilers and the like. So this morning, and I'm going to sip on my coffee a little bit. This morning, I got up early and I finished Stormblood. 2 years, and a lot has happened over the course of the 2 years. And I'm trying to process everything that we've both learned through these revelations. Obviously, a lot of things have been confirmed. Varys and Xenos live. They've retreated back to the Empire because Varys is worried about another civil war because the rumors of the demon that's walking around in his son's body, apparently would cause that. I guess that would fuel the populares, the various resistances and other political factions within the Empire to try to seize power. Obviously, we have a really epic fight with Xenos. I thought that was actually very satisfying in terms of it. The first time I wasn't able to get the swords down, and so I was able to kind of experience it like a couple times. And ultimately, I was happy with it. Obviously, throw wide the gates refers with the Crystal Tower. Obviously, this is all going to the first. All this we knew pretty much from the Tokyo Fan Fest. Why it's ultimately unsatisfying is that Stormblood, for me in this case, it is like when we say SB1 is Stormblood, SB2 is Shadowbringers. A lot of it is setting up that next expansion, and ultimately that's not a bad thing. Just when I look to compare it to Heavensward, for instance, I felt like there was a lot more conclusion to what was going on with it. I thought there was also a lot more interesting setup with Omega and Shinryu, and we didn't really, in my opinion, have anything to counteract that. But this is why it isn't a bad thing. The more I kind of thought on it and let it, kind of percolate in my brain, was that I'm very happy that we didn't just win the war. Obviously from the trailers, there's something going back on the source, and really what that is it's a calamity. We will be experiencing a calamity, I think, on the source's perspective, and I can't wait to see how that plays out, because if we're experiencing this calamity, how does that narratively fit into the overall arch of the game itself? Because obviously it concludes with kind of Varys's part getting ready to start manufacturing the Black Rose, and we know that from the Empire or the Emperor, his perspective, that he's going to be able to I guess do something with that because of the light aspectedness of the source, to be able to then have that calamity of light. So all of this has been obviously leading to that calamity, and I'm happy to see that the game in this part of it doesn't conclude with us stopping a calamity or with the Empire falling or all of that, because essentially that would, I think, make those feel that would feel too tightly wrapped up. At the end, it's now it's done. So ultimately, it's unsatisfying because it's meant to be, because Shadowbringers apparently is obviously the continuation of this ever-long conflict, but it's obviously taking our focus away from the Empire. And I'm wondering, we'll only be able to find out over the next couple of years, ultimately, how long that's supposed to take. Because is it 2 years, or is 6.0 now we get to go to Garlemald, or is it 7.0 because now we're gonna do some shard hopping? All that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So we don't get an understanding of Menphelia and Matoya, what's going on with that. Excuse me, not Menphelia. I don't want to say it's not Yuguri. Y'shtola. I don't know why I get all those names mixed up in my mind. And again, like I said, this is just my raw thoughts. So Y'shtola and Matoya, what we all of that. Where is that happening? We know that we're going to be going to the first, that the Crystal Tower is going to be played out. The individual who's summoning us in this case, summons us, where we're, saying, hey, you've left a beacon. So all of this is going to be really kind of the start of Shadowbringers, us bringing us into that world. And the question I'm wondering is that when will we see the Black Death? When will we see, or the Black Rose? When will we see this? Because I have long thought that it seems to make sense that the game should at some point conclude with another calamity. It doesn't have to be as game changing as was from 1.0 to 2.0, but like is that the direction we're going? Is that the direction we're facing? So some interesting revelations, obviously, that we get out of this. We know that Xenos is Elidibus. We see Varys kind of bouncing back and forth to the fan theory that like he's somewhat possessed in a way. We don't necessarily see the other Ascian, because we know that there's a third one out there that's kind of these prime Ascians as well. And with Varys and his shift with the Black Rose and his like, okay, here's what we're doing. And then it's like, just same thing with him in the tent, right? Like he was having this like one conversation, and then it like, the question is he partly possessed, or does he like lose consciousness, or is there something else going on with him, or is he this like well balanced, and then just sometimes I want to have a menacing face villain? I don't like that they do that with the narrative and the characters. Like, oh yeah, and then it's like frustrating. I get why they do it, because it's to help visually communicate. Like, I'm evil and I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy to fight. But ultimately, I'm not a fan of it. If you ever seen the show 24. Like, somebody will be acting completely normal, and then eventually it reveals that they're like, oh, they are a traitor. They've been working as a double agent this whole time. And then no matter what, it will always show them off now being sneakily. Like, don't you forget that I'm the villain here, or that oh yes, we've now revealed that to the audience, so now we're going to show them these extra, looks. I get it. I understand it. I don't like it, but that's just me. I think the really cool thing was that obviously we could confirm that Xenos himself is still alive, and he has been wandering around as that resistance fighter who's been doing all these things, and we get to hear his voice. And so ultimately, when we beat Xenos at the conclusion of Stormblood 4.0, that felt weak. But then he gets to come back in this interesting way. Body. Soul, he's over here also doing this other thing, infused with the artificial echo. And now I'm wondering, like, what aspect is that, right? We talk about light aspected, dark aspected, elemental aspected. I think there's a lot of things to unpack there. So ultimately, this was incredibly short for a part 2. And that's okay. Like, I'm not knocking it, because essentially we could always go back to the 2.0 where it's like, and extended. There wasn't really a trial fight to conclude it, right? There wasn't really, I think a boss that was really a part of this. We got the Gimlet Dark. And so when narratively speaking, like it just kind of, I think, just sets up Shadowbringers. And that's where we've been setting up Shadowbringers for a while. And it only makes me more excited about Shadowbringers. But when I say SB1 and SB2, it's like Shadowbringers and Stormblood are really kind of a real tight pairing, of the narratives, because we still are having this conflict. Xenos is still out there. Varys is still out there. He's going to do something that's going to really, I think, shock us in Shadowbringers. And I think that's probably ultimately where I'm interested to see how Shadowbringers, does its thing. Because when I look at Heaven's Word and I look at Stormblood, I felt Heaven's Word was very narrative, had a tighter narrative, had a much, I guess, more focused kind of perspective. And then it set up, I think, Stormblood in an interesting way, while also somewhat, I think, concluding some mysteries and things like that. I'm very happy to see the Crystal Tower come back into this. I'm really happy to see us being able to address these other shards. I think it's hard to kind of, if I was trying to, you're trying to score the story, I think the part 1 kind of ended with Xenos just kind of walking at the end for its cliffhanger. And then that just kind of jumps in here, where you end up fighting him as Lord Hien. And I thought that fight was, like I said, cool. And then we get rescued by Estinian, which I thought that was a nice little callback. And then the war is still going on. The fight on the source is still happening. And so us being summoned away I think ultimately will be interesting to see, because obviously the illusion of we're darned if we win, we're darned if we lose. Like, no matter what, we're on this path, and everything's just going to fail. Everything's just going to be destroyed. I mean, that's some heavy stuff. And if our actions on the first can then prevent that, or if are we going to undo the sundering? Are we going to travel through time at some point? Are we going to, like, what ultimately here is going to be it? And the fact that we can dimension hop with the Echo, and that we're looking for this beacon, is good. Ultimately, like, the feelings that I feel, the conclusion that I'm looking for is found in Shadowbringers. And so if you're going to, like, I would tell people, don't stop at Stormblood. Like, not even knowing what Shadowbringers is going to have for us, don't stop at Stormblood, because I see this as a pairing more than anything else. Obviously, when we talk about, and somebody might mention this in the comments, like, oh, Stormblood really ended with patch 4.3, and it's like, yeah, the 0.3 conclusion usually is what wraps up the previous expansion. We're technically in Shadowbringers right now, so I get that. I just feel like the ending of the expansion piece of it has in the past been a little bit more, at least when I look at Heaven's Word, and I'm just so in love with Heaven's Word. Like, Heaven's Word can do no wrong. I'm trying not to sit here and, I don't feel bad about how it ended. I feel hungry, and now I'm being told to wait till June, and I felt like I had to wait till this point. So it's kind of like, here's this nice fast, and everything's gonna, I guess, get faster in June, July. It's going to be a fun summer. I cannot wait to see where this story is going to go. I am very much looking forward to the high fantasy feel of Shadowbringers, and I'm going to try not to mix up the two names, but SB1, SB2 just feels right, and that's just where it is. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts. Feel free to share spoilers, because this is a spoiler thought video. And yeah, let's have that conversation. Where do you ultimately land on what we learned, what we saw, what we haven't yet seen, and the mysteries that obviously then entail? I think, to conclude, like, I'm glad that they did it in the order when we talk about Tokyo Fan Fest and then this, because if they did this and then they don't have the first, like, oh, we're going to the first, because it's like, what is the first? So narratively, from just the presentation into this, it seemed to make more sense. But anyway, guys, for Work To Game, my name is Brian. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoy the conclusion of Stormblood, and we'll be talking more about the story coming up pretty soon. So anyway, until next time, take care. Hey guys, it's me, Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we hope you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. We talk a lot about video games, and we hope to at least hear from you in the comments below. We also try to respond to our comments. We really appreciate the comments, the discussion, all the various points of view that everybody is so kindly, I guess, politely or impolitely shares with us from time to time. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching this video. We hope you hit that like button. We hope you hit that subscribe button. Come back for more content each and every day. We post a lot around here, and we'd love to hear from you about what you like about video games and everything, and especially if you have any questions that you're stuck on in anything. So anyway, signing off. See you next time.